All right, Victory Sunday. I just got back from Charlotte. Pat is in Charlotte. Virginia Tech beats Boston College 48-22. It was awesome. It was fun. It was pretty unexpected. Expected to win. Didn't expect to win like that. We are the Sons of Saturday, and we are here to break down all of the angles of this game. Pat, do you want to fill everyone in on what's going on at the back half of this podcast? I'm fired up. I haven't heard it yet, so I'm excited.
Road Trip Diaries featuring my father, Kevin Finn. A lot of you guys know him as K Finn, but he did attend all three games this weekend. Flew down to Charlotte on Thursday, flew up to Boston on Saturday morning, and was back in New Jersey late on Saturday night. Saw 2 losses and a win, and we just talked about it. I know that there's probably a good handful of folks who went to all 3 this weekend, or maybe went to 1 and then went to wrestling and then went up to Boston as well. But I wanted to get the recap, wanted to get the scoop, and had to bring on K Finn for the first time in 400 episodes. He makes his Sons of Saturday debut, so that was exciting.
Can't believe it's been that long for him not jumping on the pod, but the first of many, hopefully, here moving forward. So again, Virginia Tech wins 48-22. As always, Toki haiku time. This first one comes from all the way from Colorado. Our guy, Coach Holmes, who was at the Colorado State game, which looked like it was going to be a scoregami opportunity. I think it was like 5-0 at the beginning. He says, massive victory. I'm coming home to Blacksburg. Take down the Wolfpack. Can't wait to see you in the Berg, Coach Holmes.
It's exciting. Grant Watson, who we watched with in Charlotte. Eagles got a whack. Our running game is so back. Bring on the Wolfpack.
We usually don't get rhymes. Well done. Well done, Grant. Rounding it out with Oswald. Ref with the mass accent. Italian names abound. Good trip to Boston. Well done. Well done. There are your 3 haikus for the beginning. But where did we watch? What was the vibe? We celebrated a birthday this weekend. A little early, but we did celebrate a birthday. Let's talk about our consumption this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of fun at Goldies. Some live music going on. They were playing a little Fleetwood Mac. You had Billy Ray and company singing along with some Jason Mraz. It was a blowout when the live musician, who's probably 40 yards away in the bar, is playing some acoustic Jason Mraz and Billy Ray singing along. That means it's a blowout. And thankfully we were on the right side of that, because that probably could have happened on the other side too. If that was happening for the Louisville game, I'm sure there would have been some harmonies there too. Great time at Goldies in Charlotte, though. The noon kick got there right at 11:57 today. We need some HCC Network up in here, and they delivered.
Unfortunately, that was the same time as the Michigan-Penn State game, which, while it was competitive, was just horrible to watch. So that was on one of the other televisions.
What did you think about the post-game speech from the interim head coach here?
I thought it was embarrassing. That's what I thought. Look, it's kind of hard. Like when you're in a locker room and you're totally invested and it's us versus the world. I can understand getting to that point. But from a national scale, you're not really a victim when you get caught cheating. And your coach isn't there. Like, I don't really, when you zoom out a little bit, it doesn't look that great. So
it is always kind of funny when those interviews occur, because whoever is in front of the microphone, it's as if the person that is being discussed had passed away.
Yes.
He's not dead. JJ McCarthy is saying, yeah, I miss him so much. I saw him last night, but we just miss him so much down there. It's like,
see him in an hour,
dude. It's going to be okay. You can probably FaceTime him right now, and he will answer the phone. But quite silly. And college football, what a fantastic sport that these types of honestly hilarious post-game interviews are occurring here on the big noon kickoff slate.
I'll say it. Y'all can delete those bookmarks. I tweeted before the game. I've done it 3 times.
Bookmarks this week?
No. I don't have any bookmarks. I know people have bookmarks of me. I got 3. I got 3 or 2 on mine. I tweeted that we were going to win this week. I've tweeted that we were going to win before the Boston College, Pittsburgh, and Syracuse game. We have won all 3, so you can remove those bookmarks. Virginia Tech handled business in Boston. Sons of Statistics, a fun statistic. 48 points. The most since we scored 48 in Coach Fuentes. That was his final game, right? In 2021? In Coach Fuentes' final game against Duke on November 13th, 2021. But when was the last time we scored 48 or more than 48?
So this was actually the most points we scored in a road game in 18 years, which is befuddling. 2005 in Charlottesville? In Charlottesville, 2005. I think this was a game, maybe Cedric Humes was our back. 52-14 win in Charlottesville in 2005. And that's honestly kind of wild. I am very surprised by that statistic, but pretty exciting. Good for Coach Bowen. Good for the team. None of those touchdowns were defensive or special teams touchdowns either. They were all offensive.
600 yards of total offense, 7 of 15 on third down, 363 yards rushing. That's good for 7.1 yards per rush. This is Virginia Tech's second 300-yard rushing night. This is their 5th rushing game of over 150 yards. I'm not sure what prompted the Fu Manchu shave for Coach Bowen. I think he said it was if they got over 300 yards rushing. He doesn't have anything to shave anymore, so I'm not really sure what the situation will be for that. But well done. Well done. 36 minutes of possession at 23. We out Boston College at Boston College. We stole possessions, 2 interceptions, onside kick. I don't think I've even seen the onside kick. It's not in the condensed game. I was getting a drink when it happened. I came back with my drink and everybody's like, "Oh, we got the ball back." I'm like, "They went 3 and out already?" Like, no, surprise onside kick. I was like, "Oh, fun."
You got to tip your cap. Got to tip your cap to Kyle Lowe, the perfect kick. And you have to tip your cap to Jalen Jones, who had the most eloquent and delicate. I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but the way that he just scooped the ball up so perfectly, it looked like it was going right to Boston College, and he snatched it out of thin air. Really set the tone. 35 unanswered points. That was I guess that was right before the next score after our initial touchdown, but 35 unanswered points from there. I do not care who you're playing. If it's Blacksburg High School or Wofford or UVA, JMU, Clemson, Florida State, if you score 35 unanswered points, that is impressive. That is a huge kudos to your offensive coordinator. Usually when you score 35 points in a row, you're going to win the game. So did you know that on this wonderful Saturday, Malachi Thomas became the first Virginia Tech player, a non-transfer player, to score a touchdown this year? Now, we know Malachi Thomas threw for a touchdown earlier this year in the Syracuse game, passing touchdown trick play. We're going to just make this, hey, if you were the one who walked into the end zone, and Malachi Thomas did that on a 35-yard touchdown here, speaks to the utilization of the transfer portal here. Touchdowns this year: Stephen Gosnell, 1. Bashal Tootin, this is receiving. 2 for Tootin, 2 for Jennings, 4 for Daquan Felton, 6 for Jalen Lane. Rushing touchdowns on the year: Bashal Tootin, 7. Kiren Jones, 4. Grant Wells, 1. And then Malachi just got his first one. And then passing touchdowns on the year: Grant Wells, 5. Kiren Jones, 9. Malachi Thomas, 1. So good for Malachi Thomas, etching up the Virginia Tech stat sheets as the homegrown Hokie. But we are opening our doors for business here. Transfers, come on in, because you guys are making a heck of an impact. And this is how college football works in 2023. Bill, shall we talk about just some nitpicks, some areas of improvement on both sides of the ball for Virginia Tech?
Starting with the offense, the ball was on the ground a lot. Fumbled the ball 5 times. We were fortuitous in only losing 2 of those. And if you want to nitpick something, I couldn't find anything else to really get my to really ruffle my feathers outside of that. But the first red zone trip off of the interception ended in a field goal. We had 1st and 10 on the Boston College 14. If you look at that 3rd down play, if Drones does hand that off to Tootin, it's probably at least a 1st down, more than likely a touchdown. Those are really my only nitpicks. I thought we did a phenomenal job. Being creative. I know we have a bunch of good stuff to talk about. So there's only really one place that you can start with that, though.
Yeah, hard to nitpick the offense when you get garbage time snaps from Grant Wells and Pop Watson. Only 5 incompletions for Drones. He took care of the football as well. He does have this thing where I know it happened in the Pitt game too, when Pitt scored the defensive touchdown. When it looks like he's going to throw it, and he knocks the ball out of his right hand with his non-throwing hand. I know that was a fumble, I think, at the end of the half, but he did recover it. But hopefully we won't see any more of that. Thank you, Kiren Drones, for taking care of the football again this week. And he was fantastic. 219 yards through the air on 17 pass attempts, 12 completions, 135 rushing yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and he accumulated for over 350 yards out of our total 600 yards. Billy Ray, when did Virginia Tech become Oklahoma? 600 yards.
It was incredible. And we came into this game talking about how it's the Castellanos show at Boston College. And Kiren Drones did a little bit of everything for us. What really impresses me about him as he continues to mature, the 2 things that stood out in this game are he made some tough throws. You're not going to ask him to throw the ball a ton. As you mentioned, only 17 pass attempts. But in those 17 pass attempts, you had the shot play to Daquan Felton, who has become like the fingertip catch king. He is able to, I don't know if he's doing like fingertip curls or something, but if it's touching his fingertips at this point, he's catching the ball. And then he also had that throw to Daquan Wright. One-handed catch was nice, but the needle that he threw there was fantastic. And he's very patient. He's patient in the pass game. He's patient in the run game, waits for blocks to develop, and does a phenomenal job. So awesome game from Kiren Drones all around.
The running game itself, again, has just been great. And we're going to talk more running stats later from our guy, Rich Lettenberger. But Drones ran like an elite running back on Saturday. 20 carries, 135 yards. Those are some Bashal Tootin numbers there, KD. 6.8 yards per carry, had a long of 59 yards on the ground. Was bummed that he couldn't get in the end zone. We were talking about it before the game. Billy Ray was like, hey, listen, passing touchdown and rushing touchdown for Drones is plus 410 right now. I was like, oh, dude, like, did you hit it? And he was like, no, I didn't. And turns out that didn't happen because Bashal Tootin was hogging all the touchdowns. 3 touchdowns on the ground for Tootin on Saturday. He was 16 for 78, averaged 4.9 a carry, had a long of 17. Malachi, 3 for 38 with a long of 35, his touchdown run as well. What did you love?
I mean, it's always fun when you have a football game where you can say, hey, do you know what my favorite touchdown was of all the touchdowns that we had? It was our 5th touchdown of the night. That was my favorite, or afternoon, whatever you want to call it. I keep calling it night. Tootin gets stood up on the 4-yard line, just keeps swimming, and powers his way into the end zone about midway through the 3rd quarter. And all you could say when you see a run like that, it was a gritty run. Put his head down, kept his legs turning, and ended up in the end zone for 6. So, man, I love watching him play. He runs angry. He's shifty. He is such a fun player to watch. And I'm glad that it's all come together, because at the beginning of the season, if you go back and you listen to some of our podcasts early in the year, it's, man, Tootin is so talented. It's got to be so frustrating to finish with 22 carries and 57 yards and no touchdowns. So I'm glad we're able to get him in the end zone and get him padding his stats now.
figured this thing out, and a team needs time to gel together and adapt to new schemes, and a lot of that comes from a run first quarterback like Drones. But there were some pass catchers who were also impact players here on Saturday. The Daquan show, Daquan Wright and Daquan Felton combined for 159 receiving yards, 8 catches. You would probably say, hey, they probably got in the end zone, right? Unfortunately, no. Felton's 101 yards and Wright's 58 yards. Felton's shoestring catch. Wright's one-hander. I know you like that. But they didn't have the touchdowns. It was the Jay Lane and the Steven Gosnell show. Good to see Jay Lane back in the end zone. It's always a party in there with 83. Steven Gosnell, it was his first touchdown as a Virginia Tech Hokie.
On the Jalen Lane stuff, we ran a really, really nice play. I think I retweeted it. I follow a couple of like these play scheme accounts. I retweeted it a while back. Boston College was in man-to-man. You run motion with Lane back to the quarterback. You got the guy that's responsible for Lane following all the way. Jalen Lane plants his foot, sprints back out to the sideline, and the guy doesn't have a chance. He walks in there. So I love seeing that, and that's just another tip to our guy Tyler Bowen, who was had a ton of creativity on Saturday. We saw screens, fake tosses, misdirections, quarterback follows. Tyler Bowen was indeed in his bag. One of the funnier things, another Michigan and Penn State tieback, was you could say that Tyler Bowen took his Viagra on Saturday. I think James Franklin took too many Viagra on Saturday. This guy's going for it, going for 2 when he shouldn't, going for it on 4th down when he shouldn't.
What's plural of Viagra? Is it Viagra or Viagras? Or is it like deer? Is it just you don't do anything?
Viagra. I took 2 Viagras, Viagri. That does it for me on the offense.
While we're talking about Jalen Lane, he did have a punt return called back. But good kudos to Jalen Lane. Getting in the end zone didn't count. We didn't need it, thankfully. Blocking the back, that happens. But shout out to him. The portal. I have a note about the portal here. We already talked about that. So let's move over to the defense. I mean, I don't really think you could have any critiques on the defense other than not really registering that many tacks or tackles for loss. I saw 2 tackles for loss logged on the stat sheet here. And Castellanos, we shut him down. I will say we had some early woes in the first quarter. Their second drive after our field goal, they kind of marched down the field, ran it down the field, and took a 7-3 lead, and that was kind of it. We adjusted really well. I know they had 67 rushing yards in the first quarter and 57 rushing yards the rest of the game. Really did a good job of pinning our ears back and crushing Castellanos. He was 10 of 20 for 110 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, had a 34 QBR. And then we shut down the backup Emmett Moorhead as well. He was 3 of 7 for 28 yards on the day. In the run game, Castellanos 11 carries, 46 yards, a long of 12. Alex Broom, they're starting back this week due to the injuries of their other guys. 9 carries, 56 yards, long of 36, and the touchdown in the first quarter.
We didn't mention this in our preview, and I don't know how we didn't. This is Boston College's first loss in 5 games. They haven't lost a game since September 23rd when they traveled to Louisville.
Yet there was no one at the game.
There was no. It was. I'm looking at it right now. It says 80% capacity.
I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't blow us out because we would have had all these weirdo Boston College fans in our mentions, going at us about critiquing their fan base and football culture. Louisville's got some weird fans, is all we're gonna say. Louisville. All we said was that their fan base didn't really show up on game day. I mean, we saw the upper deck. There was no one there. Like unless I have visual impairments, bragging about 10,000 empty seats is not a good look on your fan base. So if you're a Louisville fan and you're still creeping around watching our content, it's good to see you. And it's actually not So
they could be nice. If you're one of the Louisville fans watching our video who's upset with us about that, just get more people to show up to the game. Bring a friend with you to the game. Maybe that's an initiative Louisville and, quite frankly, Boston College should start. Bring a friend to a game. BAFTAG. Bring a friend to a game.
You did mention Just Keep Swimming. Here's another Finding Nemo reference for you. Find your exit buddy, but we're actually going to make it find your entrance buddy. Walk with him through the gate, him or her through the gate. Maybe bring a couple folks. I know tickets to that game were $17. It's not that much money for a college football game, Louisville folks. What else do we have? The secondary was awesome. They set the tone. Dorian Strong gets multiple helmet stickers for his multiple interceptions on Saturday. This is from Chris Coleman. He's been targeted 24 times, Dorian Strong. And opposing quarterbacks are 7 of 24 for 76 yards with 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. Really good coverage year for Dorian Strong, number 44. Has to merit some form of all ACC recognition at the end of the season. Could not agree more. Chris Coleman, Dorian Strong. I know they love to talk. People love to talk. I'm totally in agreement with here statement. But 44. We need to get Dorian Strong in some single digits next year. Would be exciting.
Boston College's drive chart in the first half: interception, touchdown, interception, punt, half. Really, really well done. We've talked about the importance of coming out, starting strong and not putting yourself in a position to have to claw back. This game got completely out of control in a hurry. I predicted a win. I didn't predict a win like this. 21 points in the second quarter. Just a great all around performance by Virginia Tech. I don't think there's any way to sum it up other than that.
It's really nice when you could essentially be done with your Saturday, your stress on Saturday by 1:30 p.m. Kick your feet up. Go. I ordered the victory beer at Goldies at like 1:45. It was game over. So really exciting stuff. Let's talk about special teams. Did have a muffed punt. Did have a called back punt return for a touchdown. Other than that, the positives. Saw this from Bill Roth's late hits. John Love has hit 11 field goals in a row and is 90% on the year. He's an 18 of 20 clip.
Pretty good.
Love it.
Pretty good. I do. Good pun. And the onside kick. Very well done. What's your blue ribbon of the week? You could give this. I mean, you can give this to basically anybody, but who's getting it?
I'm giving out 2. I did say that I was going to carry over from last week. We did not give out any PBR blue ribbons of the week. I do have an empty PBR cup right here. There wasn't beer in this. There was chocolate milk in it. Some good protein. But Brent Pry gets my PBR blue ribbon this week because the team came out and got aggressive. They played dead on the road at Louisville last week, and it was like, hey, listen, guys, we're not doing that again. We are going to bring our own energy up to Chestnut Hill. It's exactly what we did. A noon kick. Saw some Andy Bitter reporting about the guys, getting woken up before their alarms, and they were a little ticked off about that, and they brought that ticked offness to the field. The team was scoring points off of turnovers early in the first quarter. The onside kick was some serious cojones, and also just the commitment to running the ball. The entirety of that first half was awesome. Kiren Jones really set the tone. The other PBR ribbon of the week, Dorian Strong, 2 picks. We talked about this. That was a serious job. Well done, Dorian Strong. A reminder for all the listeners out there as we set sail for one more game in Lane Stadium on Saturday. NC State's coming to town. It's a 3:30 kick. You're going to do your tailgating, but guess what? You might want another cold one when you get inside the gates of Lane Stadium. You might want to go down to Benny's in the southeast corner, right inside gate 3. I think it's gate 3. It's the one southeast. I don't know. Might not be gate 3, but east stands at first exit. Go to Benny's and get yourself a PBR. Virginia Tech, Lane Stadium. It's the only college football stadium that sells PBR. That's pretty unique. Had some PBRs yesterday in Charlotte at Small Bar. Head on down there and get you some PBR. We will be enjoying them this weekend. One big thing.
I don't like to double dip. I don't like to do it, but you brought it up, and I can't think of a better place for us to talk about one big thing, because there is one big thing that can completely change your Saturday, and it is this. It is the one big slice of pizza from Benny's. Pat, do you care to just explain the turkey? What's the elevator? The quick explanation of the turkey suit.
I think we should just leave these. I think we should leave this stone unturned, and people are just going to have to figure it out themselves.
You can just figure it out. We were at Small Bar in Charlotte. We realized very quickly that was just a few blocks away from Benny's Pizza. Called up, mentioned Sons of Saturday, got $5 off. Everybody got pizza. Some of the locals got pizza because you just can't finish that thing with your group. So if you want to be the hero of your Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, call Benny's, Charlottesville, Charlotte, Richmond, Blacksburg, wherever. Mention Sons of Saturday, get $5 off of your pie. One big thing. What is your one big thing, Patrick?
Running the football. Hang on, I got it on the full screen. I gotta move it over. Rich Luttenberger. In the last 4 wins, the Hokies have run the ball 199 times and outrushed their opponents 1,021 to 197.
Wow.
We've run for over 1,000 yards in our last 4 games, and our opponents have not run for 197 yards or 200 yards. So in these games, we've also outscored our opponents 154 to 66. Running the ball equals winning football games. That's it. That's the facts.
My one big thing, I'm simply stating a fact, and for all of you who are concerned with this, I'll just put a PSA out. If you are a current coach, facilities member, assistant, player at Virginia Tech, I would like you to please cover your ears, because I don't want this stat to distract you from focusing on the game coming up. But our guy Sam Stromberg pointed this out, and it has been confirmed. If Virginia Tech wins out, UNC wins out, and Miami beats Louisville next Saturday, Virginia Tech would be your second representative in the ACC championship. Will this happen? Probably not. FPI puts it at 0.4%. Is it accurate? Yes. So, look, climbing those standings, fired up about it, still playing meaningful football, trying to get to a bowl game, got NC State at home, got UVA to close the season out. This year's flown by, hasn't it? Can't believe we're already here at the last 2 games of the year. And that leads me to this. It is, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it is something that, 2 things. The segment is called Stupid Stuff That Was Said. These are things that were said, and I think they're stupid. Early on in the year, it feels like a lifetime ago, after the Marshall game, after the Purdue game, after the Rutgers game, people had questions. People were saying, look, I refuse to accept that we're this bad. I refuse to accept that our offense can be this inept. I refuse to believe that we cannot stop people on defense. And one of the counterpoints to that were that people would say this team is just not talented enough to compete. This team is just not good. The roster's not good. We're unable to compete. I said this as soon as people started saying that. That is a straw man excuse, and it is a complete disservice to the kids on this roster. There is talent on this roster. Is it going to be a disparity against Louisville? Is it going to be a disparity against Florida State? Yes and yes. But I simply did not believe the fact that this was one of the worst rosters in the ACC. And guess what? It's not. It is not one of the worst rosters in the ACC. The players were developed. The players played up to their potential. The coaches called plays that were complementary of their skill sets. And we're all good. We're all good. So just wanted to address that. Feel like that was a talking point. It feels so long ago that you can't even remember these conversations were happening. But they were happening. They were happening. This team's not good enough to compete. Yes, they are. And they are. And they have.
I think you could say the same thing for fire ex-coordinator after Marshall or Purdue. It's your Twitter header. Because having that in your Twitter header is going to get them fired. That's how it works. Were we critiquing? Was the fan base critiquing the performance of the team and the staff after those losses? Yes, and they had every right to do that. Was it the right answer to say, hey, we need to fire Tyler Bowen? Like, do you think we need to fire Tyler Bowen? He just put up 600 yards of offense on Saturday. I don't think that needs to happen. Let the season play out. Let us get more data. Let these young players develop. Half of them are transfers. They haven't played together before. But there are a lot of folks out there who had some egregious takes early on in the season. I think critiquing the staff of losing to Marshall and Purdue and Rutgers is one thing. I think, hey, we need to jump to conclusions of, hey, someone needs to get fired. Usually not the answer.
Long season, got to let it play out. Last thing on the stupid stuff that was said this weekend. It's never personal. It's always just stuff that I see. I'm going to talk about it. There is absolutely, unequivocally, zero reason, to be making fun of, dragging, and just belittling Grant Wells. He had a 60-yard rush when Tech is up 48-15. He gets brought in the game because the game's out of control, fumbles the ball through the back of the end zone, and everybody took this as an opportunity to take shots at Grant Wells, who's no longer our starting quarterback, who has not complained one step of the way, who has been a great teammate to Kiren Jones, who's been injured and missed a ton of time, and we have moved on to a new quarterback. There's no reason to belittle the kid, make fun of the kid, or poke fingers. And also, it looks really silly when you try to think of what you would look like when you were trying to make that play. So I am always going to stick up for players. I am always going to stick up for the kids that work 365 days a year to go out there and compete. I couldn't stand it. I don't like it. That's what I have to say about it.
I understand there, parts of the play were humorous. There's opportunities to get jokes off. But even just from a standpoint of like recruits seeing that and knowing that this is how a fan base could act, it's not necessarily the best look. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I feel bad for the kid. Worked hard for us. Understand he's not our QB1. Kiren Jones has been unbelievable, and we're really lucky to have him. But doesn't really make sense to belittle a fellow Hokie.
Letters from the lunch pail. James Copeland. How important are the extra practices for this group of kids and program if we make a bowl? James Copeland, we need to make a bowl. We need to make a bowl. We need to win one game out of NC State, whose quarterback voluntarily said, I don't want to play this year anymore, and then UVA. Got to win one of those games. Find a way to win one of those games. How important is it? Crucially important. Crucially important. The opportunity to get young guys reps, young offensive linemen, young defensive linemen, see what areas of need we may need to address in the transfer portal for a little bit more time, get the team some experience on another traveling to a road game experience for a bowl game, and rewarding the players and rewarding the coaches and rewarding this amazing fan base with an opportunity to go watch the Hokies play one more game. It is paramount. It has to be the most important thing that we do the rest of the year, is go to a bowl game. And I feel like I talk about this every year, the importance. Like, you cannot put I don't want to say price tag, but you can't overemphasize how important an extra month of practice is with your team. So really, really important, James. Really important.
Yeah, and the transfer portal is opening soon. When the season ends, that's when the portal opens. You have your team together for those practices, and it makes it a lot easier for them to decide that they want to stick around. Because as well as Virginia Tech did in the portal last cycle, there's going to be attrition just because that's the nature of how this is right now. And obviously, I'm cautiously optimistic that we can keep all the stallions in the stable. But knowing that there is the risk of losing some of our talented guys, you want to keep them around as long as possible, and you want to go and go ahead and win a bowl game for your program. So, and also I want to see Coach Pry covered in mayonnaise. So, because of the Duke's Mayo ball, context.
Yes.
Context is important.
Yes.
Hokey haikus. We got some more Hokey haikus here. Hokey Hack.
Love Hokey Hack.
Who loves a good slice from the sideline. Hokies trounce Eagles. Time to take down NC State. Armstrong meets Saxburg. And then Robbie Emerson, our guy Robbie. Last home game in Lane. One last ride for Section 5. Go beat the Wolfpack.
Closing thoughts. Really proud of this football team. Proud of the staff. Dare I say we deserve this? It has been way too long since we've been able to. I mean, Pat, when was the last time we've enjoyed watching a game on television that wasn't happening in Blacksburg? And you can kick your feet up. I don't really. It's been multiple years against an ACC opponent. I mean, it feels like it's been quite a long time. Can you think of one?
It's been 84 years, Billy Ray. I cannot think of one. No. I can't.
Unfamiliar territory.
I guess that Duke game in 2021, we did have a little bit of that at Bub's at the beach.
Yeah. So just really happy for this football team and excited for this final chapter of the year. 2 games against really good coach and Dave Doran. They've had a really odd year. We're seeing Brennan Armstrong one more time. Hopefully we can continue our Grim Reaper knocking on the door act, which we've had with Mr. Schrader, Mr. Djokovic, and now Mr. Armstrong, who seemingly we have been playing against for a decade now in the last hurrah at Lane Stadium. So really looking forward to it. I know we'll both be there. So I'm not gonna be in town till Saturday. Got a wedding on Friday. Thank goodness the wedding is not on Saturday. But I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
Closing thoughts. 2 winnable games. Go win them both.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited for Saturday. You're gonna have the sun setting over the Blue Ridge Mountains. Probably at the end of the first quarter. At the end of the first quarter, the sun is setting as Virginia Tech leads 10-3.
With this daylight savings, dude, it's gonna be a night game by the start of the second half.
Yeah, it will be. It's gonna be chilly too. I know it's gonna be like mid-50s on Saturday, but I'm sure once that sun sets behind those Blue Ridges, it's gonna be 40s, and I hope not.
It's predicting rain and lightning on Friday, so hopefully that stays on Friday. Would not like that. Dipping down to like 45, 48 comes 5:30, 6 o'clock. So blue jeans and sweatshirts, baby. We haven't really had a blue jeans and sweatshirts game. I got to be honest. The coldest I was in Lane Stadium all year was the second half of the Purdue game. I don't know if people get like surprised at that, but the second half of the Purdue game, I was soaking wet and it was windy and it's kind of uncomfortable. Syracuse game was pretty warm. I felt great the whole Syracuse game.
I think for me, it was the second half of the Wake Forest game. It was the coldest.
Okay.
That's when it got a little windy.
Mm-hmm.
A little spooky.
Sharky
shoutouts?
Sharky shoutouts. I had so much fun in Charlotte this weekend. Ran into some awesome people. We met the Cochrans. I met Mr. Cochran at the South Carolina game with his family. Really enjoyed talking with him. Really, really appreciated that. Also, shout out to Adam Boitnott. Hooked us up with some great seats for the South Carolina game. Really, really enjoyed that. Lance Weller, ran into him. We met him in Breckenridge during the ACC championship run a couple years back. I saw him at the game multiple times. Was joking, you following me? He's like, no, you're following me. It's a small concourse. Easy to run into people multiple times. And then our guy, Michael Edwards, I never met him. Came up, introduced himself. He's a dad in Richmond. I think he's a dad of 2. And he's just like, look, man, not all of us can make it back all the time. So I appreciate you guys chatting about it. He was great. Loved talking with him at halftime of the South Carolina game. I'm not sure if he's a rep for ASICS, but he was raving about ASICS.
It's the gel Nimbus, dude. I mean, I just got my new pair, and when I got home last night, they were sitting in front of my door. Some serious around the house shoes or running shoes, depending on what you like to do. They're awesome. So, Michael, thank you, because you are speaking for the 30-somethings who are new to fatherhood, or maybe not new to fatherhood, and are just not able to hang out every weekend. We are seeing O'Neal this weekend, so we're fired up about that. But shout out to the Richmonders.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the RBA folks. Also, I am thinking of going to Richmond before the UVA game. Have you figured out your UVA travel plans yet?
I have not. I have no plans yet.
Maybe we'll take an Amtrak from Jersey to Richmond and have someone scoop us.
Who says no?
So we'll be there. We need housing too. We need to figure that out.
We have some stuff that we need to figure out. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have housing for NC State yet. So if you're listening and you would like to host us on Saturday night for NC State, this is us submitting an RFP. If you would like to fill out the RFP, hit us in the DMs, because we are looking for housing here over the next 2 weekends.
Mm-hmm.
We don't bite. We'll supply beer, wine, maybe some munchies. Are you a good cook?
Yeah, I can cook. I wouldn't consider myself a good cook.
Okay. But yeah, we're doing that. And then we got to talk about, should we talk about the Go Birds thing? Guys, I got to tell you, the tweet probably wasn't worded the best way.
I tweeted it. I tweeted it.
Billy tweeted it. We didn't get to chat before the tweet went out. It pretty much reads as, "Hi guys, we just invented Go Birds, so start saying." And that is not the bit. If you've been listening, if you've been following along, we've been kind of plugging Go Birds as a joke all season. Even in August and June and July, we were talking about this, in and outside of the podcast or social medias. Go Birds is a bit. It's a joke. The Hokie bird is a bird, so we've been saying it. Obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles say Go Birds as well. That's the bit. We committed to the bit. Unfortunately, the tweet today did not really have the whole bit in mind. So this is me delivering that context to you all right now. You do not need to buy the t-shirt. And if you don't even know what we're talking about, that is okay. But no, we are not unoriginal people who can't come up with our own clothing lines. This is a bit, and we thought the Philadelphia Hokies would, like it. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, obviously, but clearly we may have missed the mark on the whole rollout of this t-shirt. So whatever. There are a lot of people who are offended about it, though, which is kind of hilarious. Like, a lot of offended people. We were ruffling all of the birds' feathers on this Sunday night on the internet. A lot of people were offended by this. Guys, it's not that deep. It's never that deep. It's never that serious.
That's
Go Birds.
Good callback. Good callback.
Go Birds is a bit. The Hokie bird is a bird. It can't fly. We can't say Go Hokies because Go Hokies is trademarked. So obviously, we would be millionaires. The Southwest Virginia shop would be millionaires. We can't say Go Hokies. We can't put that on t-shirts. However, we also did find out today that Go Birds is in fact trademarked. So guys, I hope you enjoyed dunking on us on the internet. It's not that serious. We do goofy bits. And if you're not familiar with our brand, try to get a little more familiar and just chill out. Okay. Thank you. I am so fired up to see you guys at NC State. And if you were truly offended, I am so sorry. Lastly,
PSA from PMF.
Lastly, November 18th, that is this Saturday. If you are going to be sticking around the Hampton Roads area, the K5K, a Run for Kendra, is a 5K event raising money for college-bound students who have lost a parent to cancer. Scholarships go to Hampton Roads students and Virginia Tech students. It is memorializing Kendra Atherton, who graduated from Tech and lost her battle to cancer in 2012. Over the past 10 years, we have raised $120,000 for our scholarship fund. You can learn more at www.k5k.run. And shout out to our friends, the Athertons. Hope you guys have an awesome turnout this weekend at the K5K. Carter, Hunter, the whole gang. Love you guys, and hope that event goes really well. And shout out to our Richmond marathon runners here this past weekend.
Yes.
Dave Nouse did the damn thing. I saw Colton Grow and Brady Didlake do it as well. November, man. A lot of marathons in November. I know there were dozens of Hokies who crushed New York last week. Riley Wyatt did a segment and interviewed Dave Nouse, and Dave said his favorite part about the race was the post-race Goldies. we could all appreciate. Shout out to all you guys as well. Is that a podcast? You got anything else for me?
A couple things off the cuff. They don't have to do with Virginia Tech. So if you're good on Virginia Tech content, you can tune out. I do have to give props to a gentleman that I engaged with on Don V's space regarding Ole Miss. He was saying that Ole Miss was fraudulent, which I still disagree with, but I did tell him we basically had set a line at 21 points. I didn't think UGA would win by 21 points. They won by way more than 21 points. I don't think that's necessarily a reflection on Ole Miss being fraudulent. I think it's a reflection on Georgia being amazing, which they are. So Tyler Brookman, salute. Hats off to you. Good call. I should have. I had Ole Miss minus or plus 10. So I wish I consulted with you before. That's one thing. Number two, any thoughts on the Jimbo Fisher exodus here? $76 million buyout is being paid. College football, college sports, college athletics, out of control. Just out of control.
Yeah, stop paying these guys this much money. Charlie Weiss is still getting paid. How long ago was that? It's ridiculous. It's out of control. Hot wings and hotter takes. I did hint that this was going to happen. We can pull that. We can pull that clip. Jimbo, goodbye. I don't think anyone. I guess he doesn't care. He's going to make $76 million to do nothing. But I know his ego is going to be bruised a little bit from this. But be a better football coach next time. Hoops content.
Check it out. It's fantastic.
Hoops content going out this week, reviewing the Iowa game, reviewing the South Carolina game as well. And yeah.
Getting to town on Saturday. Pat and I are waffling, considering going to the basketball game on Sunday. Not sure yet. So we'll see what goes on there. But as Hoops picks up, so does the content. So shout out to everyone who's been doing that. And that's a podcast. We'll have
I think I have two more shout outs. I'm trying to think. A couple guys I met, a couple more folks I met at the game. Hannah Snodgrass. Shout out to Hannah. Saw her after the Iowa game. And then Chris
Castle. Love seeing Ann Castle.
Of course. Always repping for the Hoops teams. And Chris Bird and his family as well. Met them before the South Carolina game. But yeah, we'll see you guys in Blacksburg.
Go Hokies. Next time you hear from us will be the NC State preview. Beat them. Go Hokies. Go Birds. Go Sports. Talk to you soon.
Enjoy the games. Okay, Sunday night, finishing up the pod with some fun, talking about the road diaries of the weekend of November 10th. And this is about episode 400 and something. And Kevin Finn, my father, is joining us. He's probably listened to all 400 of those episodes, but for the very first time, we do welcome K. Finn, as many people know him as. The reason I went to Virginia Tech, but just so you guys know, there's a lot of Hokie fans out there who do things like this all the time. But we had to hear about it from a firsthand account from my dad, who was at the women's game on Thursday night, who was at the men's game on Friday night in Charlotte, and then got on the plane up to Boston early on Saturday. and went to the game up there as well. And then made it back to Newark Airport and in the confines of Basking Ridge later on Saturday night. A fun-filled weekend. But before we get into anything, what's going on? How are you?
Good. It's great spending time with you this weekend, as usual. All good. Good day back home today, getting stuff done around the house.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about your journey to Virginia Tech. We know that you played soccer at Tech, German club and all that, but how does a guy from Freehold, New Jersey, wind up at Virginia Tech in the 1980s?
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. I was supposed to go play soccer at New Jersey Institute of Technology when I finished high school, and a local engineering company was looking for a couple kids out of high school to be draftsmen, and I decided to work a couple of years, save some money, and then during those 2 years, actually on the second year, I was really getting the itch to go back to college and to play soccer in college. I was still young enough to play in club ball, but on U19s, but I really wanted to play in college. So I actually ran into an old girlfriend's father at the supermarket, and I was telling him I was interested to go back to school. And he's like, "Oh, Jennifer's at Tech. They have a soccer team now. Why don't you go check it out?" So I reached out to Coach Shanae, set up a trip down to Blacksburg, which was epic. Flew Piedmont Airlines down to Roanoke. Coach Shanae picked me up, housed me with Tim Barrera, who's one of the captains. When I set foot on campus, I knew this is where I wanted to come. And I had an advantage because I was the age of a junior, but I was only a freshman, so able to play right away and had a great 4 years there. One of the highlights was that my brother came the year after me, so to be able to put on the Tech jersey with my brother Kenny was phenomenal. And we've really turned into a Virginia Tech family. Met my wife, Jean, there. 2 out of 3 of our kids, obviously Patrick, you, and then Kathleen's a senior now, go to Tech. We let Brian go to Notre Dame. That was okay. And he ended up playing soccer there, which was fun. Had a good time out there. And my brother sent 3 kids to Tech. My sister sent 1 kid to Tech. So we've become a real Tech family. And when we started having kids, I got to show a little prop here. All right. There is Patrick Finn being born. And of course, I slap on a VT button right on his baby blanket. So he was just born to be a Hokie, as they say. And the story continues. So it's been fun, but it was life-changing for our family. I was the first one to go away and to go south and go to school. It was great. Came back here afterwards, started my career in the printing business, and I run our sales team at my company and sell current accounts, and it's been good. So little plug for DCC, Digital Color Concepts. Mountainside, New Jersey, do a lot of high-end printing for pharmaceutical companies, high-end fashion and retail. Great company. So so that was my story. Got to play soccer at Tech all 4 years, joined the German club. And back then we had, there was 6 of us from the soccer team were in the German club. And we had a good following from all the German club guys would come out to all our games and just had a great atmosphere. Met my wife there my senior year, which was awesome. And pretty much back then, all my friends met their wives at Tech. And so it's kind of fun when we have get-togethers for football games or golf trips. We all know each other. We all know each other's wives really well. And it's we have a big group that have also sent their kids to Tech. So obviously, Patrick, you've become friends with a bunch of my friends' kids. And so it continues. Once you get into VT, it's part of your family, it's part of your life, and you just want to kind of spread the word. But this weekend was really something. And initially, I was just going to go up to the BC game. I've clients up in Boston that I was going to meet them on Friday, go for dinner, and then go to the game on Saturday. And then Patrick, you talked me into coming down to Charlotte, and that looked too good to be true. So Gene and I booked a flight for Thursday afternoon, Uber to the hotel, checked in, and then quickly met. What's the name of that pub we met?
Yeah. We didn't, so we weren't able to get into the public house because it was at capacity, and we had a large group, so we couldn't do up any walk-ups at the public house. So we went to Rerod's Irish pub right down the street.
Yeah, Rerod's, got there, and Billy Ray's there, Ed Williams. It was great. I got Dax Holyfield was there. He's an awesome guy. Had a great chat with him. Met his girlfriend Allie, who was awesome. Who else? Caroline was there. Diablo fan account. For all you Twitter guys out there, I've gotten to know a bunch of you guys through the Virginia Tech Twitter world. And Diablo fan account, great kid, Shelton, and he's living down there now, right, Patrick and Charlotte.
Yep.
Also, Oscar Bradburn, Oscar. He showed up too. Really good guy. He just got engaged. So we had a great pregame and then made our way over to the arena. What a great crowd that was. And we had seats up in the upper deck. It was pretty packed. And another person that we met through VT Twitter is John Cranham. And we got to sit with him and hang out with John. He was a lot of fun, and really enjoyed that game. That was a tough one. I think Tech's good enough to compete with them. Georgia played out of her mind, and Caitlin Clark was incredible. But I have to agree with everybody. She's like the Michael Jordan or the Messi of her sport, and she gets the calls. And unfortunately, that went against us. And in the end, what did she have? 17 free throws?
17 free throws. Georgia had 31 points on 8 less shots than Caitlin. Georgia went to the line 4 times. I think Caitlin knows that Georgia is an unbelievable player too. And
yeah,
most folks in the building, we had some annoying Iowa fans behind us who wouldn't stop yelling at the refs. But
well, the Iowa fans came out. They traveled for this team. I was blown away. I mean, the Tech fans showed up. There was a great. I think we had probably 2/3 of the crowd, but Iowa really stepped up. To me, that game came down to the Iowa coach decided that she was going to make life as hard as possible for Liz Kitley, and Liz always was double teamed. She was getting packed. She had a hard time getting in the paint. They really blocked her up, which forced her to do a lot of fadeaway shots. And I think Tech is really going to be ready for them. Hopefully we run into them again on the way to the Final Four again, or at the Final Four. That would be amazing. But we're good. Kenny Brooks is doing a great job. He's got a lot of new players that he's got to incorporate, and during the season they're going to get better. But Liz, Georgia, the rest of the gang, I think they're gonna continue to be a top 10 team.
Yeah, a lot of areas of newcomers that were able to get out there and make an impact as well. I think really Carly Wenzel made an impact. Had 11 points, 4 of 4 shooting. Was doing her best to lock down Caitlin Clark as well. I mean, she's a redshirt freshman from San Antonio. I think she brings a lot of spunk to this team. I think she's going to be a fan favorite here this year as well. And just speaking on behalf of the crowd, it was a postseason type atmosphere at Spectrum Center on a Thursday night. They had the top open, whereas Friday night for the men's games, they had the curtains down. I don't know if they had intended to sell any tickets for the men's tournament in the upper deck, but 15,000 plus fans out for an early season women's basketball game featuring 2 Final Four contenders from the previous year. It's just incredible to see, and it was a ton of fun. Place was buzzing the entire time. Evan Hughes, I know, was on the call for one of the networks. I know you got to catch up with him a little bit after the game as well.
Yeah, Evan Hughes, that kid is awesome. He's just an awesome person. He does a fantastic job. I hope someday he becomes the voice of the Hokies. He'll be the next Bill Roth. He's already doing that with basketball, women's basketball. think he does baseball as well, fills in some with soccer. And a tidbit with Evan Hughes is his dad, Kelly, was when I was a freshman on Tech Soccer, his dad was a senior captain. And then for the next 2 years, his dad was a grad assistant. So I know Kelly really well. He's a lot of fun. He was an amazing player. And it just brings me joy to see how happy Evan is and how well he's doing. And when after the game, when I kind of peeked over the rail and waved up at Evan, he came down on I guess they had a little commercial break or something, and ran down, shook my hand, said hello, and up he went to finish his segment. But can't say enough about Kelly. And there's a lot of those, Patrick, where I was friends with the parent and you become friends with their kids, like Courtney and Katie Adams. Their dad, we were all in the dorm together. He was back then, Cochrane was called NUF, New Undergraduate Facility, until somebody was ready to fork up some money. But Steve was a football manager, so I knew him, and it's fun that you're friends with his daughters. The list goes on. There's a bunch of kids like that, and it's fun. It's good to see next generation taking over.
So we'll move on to Friday. Friday night, the late tip in Spectrum for the South Carolina game. Had an awesome time prior, getting dinner up at Osteria Luca.
Yeah, Friday, I did the old work from home, work remotely on Friday, which was pretty productive. We met up with the Bakers for dinner, and you always hear Grady B doing the Hokie haikus. That's one of my best buddies from Tech, and Grady and Lori, who their son Connor is one of your best buddies. So it's again, that next generation. It's pretty fun. But yeah, we had a great dinner. Then went over to the game. Billy Ray was able to hook us up. We had seats kind of behind the basket, so you were up about halfway, and the backboard kind of is in the way. We ran into some New Jersey friends there too, to Alyssa and Kristen Lopez and the Gray sisters. And but Billy Ray hooked us up. He's like, "Hey, I got better seats. We're gonna move." So we moved center court, about 12 rows up, and it was perfect. So really enjoyed that. It was another tough. The first half was just tough. We couldn't get our shots off. I think South Carolina, part of their strategy was to isolate our guys and go one-on-one and try to draw the foul and get the bucket. And it happened time and time again. What was that big guy, Mack? Their center?
Yeah, PJ Mack, the Wofford transfer.
He's a handful. And I thought, all right, he had a good half. He's going to fade. He didn't fade. And then he's stepping out, hitting threes. When you had, Poteet and then when Lynn Kidd's turn to try to stop him, and he just kept backing him up, and the shots were falling. So that was where they, I think their game plan really worked, was just isolation. We came back strong in the second half. It was a really fun half to watch. Sean Padula took over. Hunter Couture playing, he rolled his ankle and he kept going, and that guy's a warrior. But I think, it's kind of like the women's team. This team's going to get better. They have depth. They're going to learn from that loss. And it was just odd for me to see how our shooting was really off in the first half. But credit to South Carolina. They stepped up for the game. They were consistent the whole game. I thought when we went ahead, Padula's 3 free throws, that we were going to ice that game, but they answered, and good teams do that. So, but it was a lot of fun. Late game, so got back to the hotel 12:30, and set the alarm for 5. And there was our seats. Yeah. So anyway, I got a 8:00 flight out of Charlotte directly to Boston. And part of the reason I did that was I was just checking online to see what it would be. It was like $53 for one-way. I couldn't believe it. It was Delta. I'm like, how are they making money on that? But it kind of encouraged me to say, all right, that's a sign. I got to do this. And I had 8 of my customers that are up in Boston. They were all up for the idea to go. And the interesting thing about them is, even though they all live in Boston, none of them are really fans of Boston College. They're fans of the Boston pro teams, but they don't really, I don't think that, I guess it's the Boston alumni and the students, Boston College alumni and students that really follow that school. But the average Boston person doesn't seem to care that much, it seems to me.
Well, even before we get there, did you have any Hokies on your flight up to?
Oh yeah, there
Boston?
was, you know, everybody was kind of dragging from the night before. There was 5 or 6 people wearing their tech stuff, and I talked to a couple of them and said, "Hey, are we gluttons for punishment, or what? For, you know, suffering 2 losses?" And we're talking about the wrestling team losing, and then we're like, "All right, we're gonna go up there and hope for the best." But you know, I was talking to Paul Torgerson after the second basketball game, the second loss, and he's like, you know what, Kev, if we can pull off the BC game and come away with a win, I think it's going to make these 2 basketball losses go down a little easier, which it did. It was something else. So got an Uber from the airport right to the game and met up with my customers outside. We met out at the Flutie statue. So like we have the Frank Beamer statue outside of Lane Stadium, they have Doug Flutie with the big Hail Mary pass against Miami back in the day. So that's where we met. We had some great seats. Tech had a really strong turnout at BC. Like most of the seats kind of behind the visitors bench were Tech fans, it seemed. And their student section was good. Their pregame, I got to say, when we were walking through the parking lot to meet up, they had a great tailgate vibe. It was a beautiful day.
Really?
Yes, I
No
was
kidding.
Yeah, I was shocked, but it was kind of, you know, when we were at the Rutgers game, that pregame is kind of a nice day. Everybody's out having a good time. It had that same kind of feeling, but all over campus, they're tailgating hard. They're having a good time. But when you go into the stadium, they're not in the stadium. They're still tailgating. So we got into the stadium right at their kind of, you know, their start, where their entrance, and it was fine. They have this big Boston College banner and the team runs through it and they have smoke and they play, what's that song they play?
Do they do Shipping Up to Boston too?
Yeah. And it was good, but there was nobody there to watch it. We make our way to the seats right in time for kickoff, and the student section's like half full. Midway through the first quarter, it filled up for sure.
This is a 6-3 team.
Yeah. Honestly, they had more fun in the tailgate. And that's probably why at halftime, the student section just cleared out and they went back to their tailgate parties. But Tech, to start off the way they did, Dorian Strong's pick was amazing. And then he got another one later, which is good. I just thought that Pry was aggressive, and like he was at home when we did the fake punt. And this game, he did the fake kickoff, which is the onside kick. That was amazing. And who recovered that? Was that Canteen?
It was Jalen Jones, I think.
Jalen Jones scooped that thing up, and we were like, "Holy, wow, that was awesome!" So to punch that in, kind of, we were like, "We're feeling good about this," because obviously they had a running quarterback, and we kept him on the bench, especially the first half. They didn't have a lot of possession. So between the 2 picks, the onside kick, it was amazing. So needless to say, my Boston clients became Virginia Tech Hokies that day, because they were high-fiving and following, and it was really great, really fun.
So we'll take a break in the action to do some visuals. If you're listening on Spotify, you'll have to check out the YouTube, but we do have our mementos from the weekend. And to give everyone an idea of what this is, it is an app for sports fans who go to games. You track the games, you see your stats, upload pictures from the game, tag your friends. You got women's basketball, men's basketball, and college football all supported on Momento here. And all 3 games from the K-Fin weekend journey are uploaded to his Momento account. So we'll start it off with Thursday night. Looks
Oh,
like a
there's
reroute pick with Dax.
Yes. Dax, what a great guy. Can't say enough. Love talking to him. And again, his girlfriend, who was a high tech, super great couple. Can't say enough. Really good dude.
And then we have the next night, the fellas. This was our seats at midcourt.
That's thanks to Billy Ray. It's good to know people. Thank you, Billy. Just a great time. Really awesome. Even though we lost, still had fun.
Double shout out. Adam Boitnott was the hookup there. So thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
And then we have I love this pick out in front of Alumni Stadium here. Was this by the Flutie statue?
Yeah, I was waiting around for my customers, and you could kind of zoom and see in the back. You see almost by the door there, you can see Doug Flutie about to launch the football. So that was good. Oh, I have to dog Boston College about one thing. Their food in their stadium is so bad, really bad. Now, needless to say, I missed breakfast. I grabbed a snack at the airport. I was hungry. Went into halftime. They didn't have a lot of good choice. They had pulled pork was on the menu. I said, all right, I'll get one of those sandwiches. They don't have any more pulled pork. And I was like, a hot dog. And they had this kind of beef something. I don't know if it's supposed to be like brisket, but I was like, how's that? And they said, it's pretty good. All right, I'll grab a sandwich. So I grabbed the sandwich. I walk out just kind of in the corridor. I start eating it. I'm talking to these other kids from Boston College. And one kid goes, those sandwiches are terrible. And I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. I took a bite, no flavor. It was disgusting. and I tossed it. And I basically bought popcorn. That was my lunch. But made it back into the game. But yeah, the food's bad. This is the time for the Benny's plug. They need a Benny's at Boston College because I would have devoured Benny's and a Pabst Blue Ribbon. Oh, by the way, another thing, thumbs down on BC. They do sell beer in the stadium, but so anyway, that's the BC story. We left happy. We stayed to the very end. All the Tech fans stayed to the very end. Boston College bench, the stadium was empty afterwards. And the football team was acknowledging the crowd after. That was really fun, especially Josh Fuga. He was really pumping back to the crowds, and it was great. Just a fantastic day. Caught an Uber back to the airport afterwards. The traffic in Boston was awful getting to the airport. It was like a 9-mile trip, and it took almost an hour. Not really because of the traffic getting out of the game, because they left middle of the third quarter. But Boston traffic was pretty heavy. But flew home, got home, picked up the dog, and crashed. Watched some of that Duke UNC game before I went to bed. I think Duke got hosed on that pick. But you can't beat it. It was really like 48 hours of VT fun, and it ended up on a high note. If we had to pick which game was the win, take the football one all day long, because now it kind of puts us in a good position for the bowl game. And, we got some more confidence, got a lot of playmakers, got a lot of weapons. It's fun. So the next two games are going to mean something, which I'm happy about.
Yeah. Got a 7-3 NC State team coming to town next weekend. We got NC State, we got UVA. Sounds like you guys aren't making it to NC State or UVA. Maybe a bowl trip for the Finn family. Yeah.
Give me the Military Bowl. We'll drive down there. Give me the Belk Bowl? What do they call it now in Charlotte?
Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Duke's Mayo Bowl. Maybe we'll hop down there and hook up for that if they can make that one. Any bowl, I'll be happy that we get into. That's for sure. It's fun.
Yep. So a fun weekend. A lot of mementos logged. 3 mementos in 3 days. Way to kickstart the account. I'm sure you'll be backlogging all your mementos all the way back to, I think 2013 is where the football game data stops. I think they're going to be adding some data pre-2013 in Momento here in the coming months. But yeah, get involved and check out Momento. Sharky shout-outs. I know you want to give some shout-outs out here.
Yes.
From your weekend or just in general. You got some guys to plug.
First shout-out goes to my lovely wife, Jean, also a Hokie. She's the best. She supports all. That goes for VT, for me and you, and Kath. Shout out to Kathleen, my daughter, who's a senior at Tech, who will be graduating in May. Really proud of what she's doing there in Prism, Donna Wardelick's group. Shout out to Brian Finn, the only non-Hokie in the family, but he has orange and maroon in his blood, and he knows it. He still follows all the Tech stuff. But as long as Notre Dame's not playing Tech, we're cheering on the Irish. I want to shout out this dude that we met, Andrew Missionard. We just met him at the Panera Bread. We're in there. It's just the way it is. In Basking Ridge, New Jersey, the guy's wearing his VT gear. And we're like, hey, did you go to Tech? And had a great chat with him. And of course, I, got to bring up the Suns. And he's like, yeah, I listen to the Suns all the time. And I said, yeah, Patrick Finn is my son. And he's like, oh, I love those guys, Pat and Billy. And so shout out to him. He sent a picture of his daughter, who's a baby picture, and her wearing all of her VT stuff. So hopefully she ends up at Tech. I do want to shout out these guys. Show another prop here. These are the brain trust of my group, the Hack and Hokies. These are all German club dudes. Richard Wharton, Brian Stockmo, Steve Upton, Grady Baker. These guys make it happen all the time in so many ways. And between that group, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 11 Hokie kids out of those 5. So it's pretty awesome. Shout out to them. Shout out to my brother, Kenny, another Hokie, and his wife, Kiren. Now, Kiren played volleyball at Tech. This is another fun fact. Her teammate was Sonia Curry, Steph Curry's mother, Del Curry's, I guess, ex-wife now. We were all in the dorm together. I was lucky in my 4 years at Tech. I had Del Curry for my first 2 years. Awesome teams they had there. He was there was no three-point line then, and he was shooting from like way beyond the arc if there was one. My last 2 years, we had Bimbo Coles, so we used to camp out overnight to get tickets for Castle Coliseum. Every game was sold out. Metro Conference, a lot of fun. I have to give a little shout out to you, Patrick, because you are our VT kid, and back in when the shootings happened, Patrick was in 7th grade, and he brought in this maroon marker to school, and he signed VTs on the back of, I think, over 100 kids' wrists. It was that Friday, which is the day that the country was memorializing those kids who were shot and killed. But Patrick stepped up as a 7th grader, and I was like, this kid's going to go to Virginia Tech, and he's going to do big things there, which you have done and continue to do. So big shout out to you. My last shout out is I think there's somebody who it's going to be, this person planted some seeds to Patrick Finn. When he was, again, like 7th, 8th grade, he used to, Dad, you got to watch this guy on YouTube. He's so funny. And it's Don V. So shout out Don V. How are you, man? Patrick used to watch all his YouTube videos, and he'd make me watch him. And after a game, and Don V was standing with his back to the wall and recording himself and putting out on YouTube. And he had some great commentary and comments. And now he's added his buddy Drift, and I guess Joe Rogers is in the mix now. Trey Turner. I don't know. I get a kick out of those guys. But I met Drift a couple of years ago, and Don V. Great guys. Total different approach that you guys have, but their brand is right on the money. So had to give those guys a shout out. But last shout out is Coach Jerry Cheney, who was my head coach, and he was coach for Tech soccer for 30 years, most winningest soccer coach in Tech history. Got a Atlantic 10 Coach of the Year honor. My first 2 years, we won the Metro Conference tournament. Got him into the Big East. Then the baton was handed over to Oliver Weiss, but and now Mike Briz. But Coach Cheney, the whole soccer alumni really wants to see you get in the Hall of Fame, and we're trying to push from our end. And appreciate guys like Paul Torg trying to help us on that end. So big shout out to him. If you guys ever run into Coach Shanae, phenomenal guy. Still volunteering for the athletic department to help visiting teams come in. But I got a lot of great friends from my tech soccer time, and Coach Shanae made that special for sure. And that's it.
Fantastic. Wow, those are some of the better Sharky shout outs we've had in a really long time. And
A little long-winded, but
I'll fire one back at you. Sharky shout outs to all the parent and child Virginia Tech relationships, or sibling to sibling Virginia Tech relationships, all the relatives who have Virginia Tech in their blood and that special bond, because it's the biggest part of my life. It's the biggest part of your life, outside of family. And it's extremely fulfilling, and I'm glad we get to do it. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Hokie family on Saturday in Lane Stadium with our guys and with NC State. So that's it. That's a podcast. That's the first ever, Road Diaries edition here. Make sure you download Momento. We got the link in our YouTube description. We'll try to put it out on Spotify as well. But that's it. K-Fin, thanks for joining. This will not be the last time.
yes.
We'll go 400 episodes before your next appearance. I promise you that.
Hey, happy to be on. And like we end all things, go Hokies.
Go Hokies. Love you.